if we are done with writing down the question, I want to trouble to pose a simple question. In CRE, we say that each question has a specific style of answer. Now, in your own perspective,
Teacher Isiko, you're breaking. We can't hear you.
in your own understanding,
Teacher Isiko, you're breaking. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Okay.
No.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Let me try.
We cannot hear you.
You're not getting me?
No, we cannot hear you.
What could be the problem? Could it be network still?
You talk.
Hello?
No.
Are you now getting me well?
Yes,
No?
now we can hear you. We can hear you. You continue.
I was saying, we're having different questions in CRE, and each question has a specific style of presentation. And now our focus is to look at how questions with words like giving examples, with examples, giving evidence, with reference, with the head of examples, with illustrations, how such questions are handled. And before I would give in my own presentation, I had posed the question, in your own perspective, how do you answer questions of that nature? Motus? You can answer the question. Motus, have you heard my question? The question is, how do we handle questions with words like giving examples, with aid of illustrations, with the reference to, with evidence, giving evidence? Emma, you can also respond as you are waiting for the response. Emma. Question? Or you're saying I'm breaking? I was saying we have different styles of presenting questions, different styles of answering questions, different styles of answers. And now we have for several times gone through. I'm saying you start by explaining the subject of the question, by explaining the subject of the question, and then you add an example based on the subject. Very good trial. Very good. Now, Emma, what do you have to say? Am I saying he can't hear very well? Hope, Emma, you can now hear. Because I wanted this one to be an interactive session such that as I give you my ideas, I build on what you already have. Emma, hope you are now hearing. I want us to discuss in relation to what Mutes has just given us. Okay, but you can still type in your answer. Emma, you can still type in your answer. Anyway, in the interest of time, if we are hearing, and in case you don't hear, you tell me very fast that I can adjust either to Google Meet or something else. In the interest of time, whenever we are faced with questions of that nature, with words like giving examples, with aid of examples, with reference to, what we need to know is that such questions are double score questions. When we say they are double score questions, we mean that as a candidate, you earn 2 marks in a single paragraph. By saying you earn 2 marks in a single paragraph, we mean that it is either 2 or 0. But how do you get the 2 marks? You answer it just in the same way Moses has said. You give the point in a full sentence form, then you back it with a fully developed example. Such questions are common in exams, and they have caused so many failures in CRE. But why do our learners perform well in such questions? It is because they answer such questions without being obedient to the demands. When you are handling such questions, in case you give an answer, a correct one, but when it is not in a full sentence form, the rest of the content is marked wrong. 2, if you give a correct answer, but you don't support it with an example, you still score 0 in that point. 3, if you give a correct answer and you give it an example which is wrong, the point is correct, but the example is wrong, you get 0. 4, if you give a correct answer and you give a correct example which is not well developed, you still get 0. 5, if you begin with the example well developed, correct, then you end with the answer, you also get 0. You will be like somebody who has dressed in a funny style. You begin with the trouser, then you put the underwears, so you get 0. We expect you to begin with the point in a fully developed sentence. It may not be lengthy, but it must be a fully developed sentence. Then you go ahead and give an example, and you show the examiner that you are giving an example by saying, for example. Hope you are hearing me very well. I don't want to continue when you are not hearing. Are we hearing? Good. Now, I'm not hearing you. Is not hearing. That such questions look to be simple but challenging. But the moment you master the trick behind it, there are some of the simplest questions. Such questions, if the examiner is awarding 10 marks, they only require you to write 5 points. A good student will only need around 7 points, such that the examiner will look at 5, then these other 2 are working as backup points in case some 2 are wrong. Let us look at the question. With examples, explain the sources of happiness in A, the present situation. We are going to begin by answering that. I want you to type in your answer. We look at it and we discuss it in relation to the guidance I've just given you. Let each of you type just one answer. One answer like this, and we mark it. I'm sure you are typing in your answer. The question is, with examples, explain the sources of happiness in A, the present situation. We got that question at the beginning. And now we are beginning with part A, the present situation. I want each of you to type just one answer, such that I use that answer to explain to you. And I will be awarding marks, just as I did last time. Jackie, thank you for joining. Hope you know what we are doing. We have a question on table and we are typing in our responses. Jackie is saying having material wealth. I'm looking at your answers. Remember, we said when we are dealing with that question, you give a point. After giving a point in a full sentence form, you back it with a fully developed example. And the example must be clear. Motes's answer had an idea, but again, the example is not specific. A good example must be specific. Go ahead and type in one extra answer based on that correction I've given you. Then I give my own input. I'm waiting for those responses. I'm waiting for the responses. When a married couple has many children, this is considered as a source of happiness. Good try. I want you to look at this example I'm going to give you. Completing education is a source of happiness in the present situation. Then you say, for example, whenever there is a graduation at Makerere University, people are always happy. Here we are seeing the point of completing education. That will be a mark. Then we are citing the example of where and who. Whenever there is graduation at Makerere University, people are always happy. That's when we have 2 marks. We are going to use Mutesi's second point of marriage. We say marriage is a source. Marriage is a source of happiness in the present situation. For example, for you, I've said e.g., but for in the exam, you say for example. For example, when the Kabaka of Buganda, Ronald Mwenda Mutebi, wedded his wife, Sylvia Najinda, everybody, okay, he was very happy. Here, we are citing the example of marriage, and we are citing a specific person, somebody who is known. That is the Kabaka of Buganda, Mwenda Mutebi. Everybody knows him. What happened to him? When he was marrying Lady Sylvia Najinda, what he was wrong? He was very happy. So we'll get a mark for stating marriage as a point, then stating the example of Ronald Mwenda Mutebi as an example. That means we have so far 4 marks from 2 points. Then you will say, being popular is a source of happiness in the present situation. You say, for example, me, I'm saying e.g., but for you, you say, for example, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, commonly known as Bobby Wine, is a happy person because of being known worldwide. We now have 6 out of 10. Somebody saying having material wealth is also a source of happiness. Wonderful. For example, Geoffrey Chirumira of Agaga Kwagana group of Kampala lives a happy life since he has a lot of wealth. Wow, that is good. So Jackie has 2. Jackie has 2 out of 10. Jackie has 2 out of 10. That is good. Actually, our answers are supposed to be in that way. Jackie has stated her answer. You are citing the point of having wealth, and you are being specific. Who is that person who is rich? Geoffrey Chirumira. But do we know that Geoffrey Chirumira? We have so many Geoffrey Chirumiras. That's why she has gone an extra mile to say of Bagaga Kwagalana group in Kampala. What is wrong with him? He is happy because of having a lot of wealth. That is how we go about our answers. Basing on that, Montes, you also type 1 answer. Emma, you also type 1 answer. Before we go to African Traditional Society, because I want us to look at how we give examples in ATS. Now that we are mastering how we do it in the present situation. As you are typing in yours, I can also give mine. You'd say, winning a competition is a source of happiness. We are saying winning a competition is a source of happiness in the present situation. Then you say, for example, Joshua Cheptegei is a happy person because of winning medals in the just concluded Olympics. The just concluded Olympics. Somebody has said having many children is a source of happiness in the present situation. For example, Fidel said, my mother is happy because she has 6 children to help her do chores at home. Very good point. But this is my simple correction to you, Esther. You have talked of Fidel Sad. You may find she's not known countrywide. So if your paper is marked by somebody who the mother, let's an examiner from Alibutong, he will not know of the Fidel you are talking of. Go ahead and give some vivid example. If you had given us an explanation of who that Fidel Sad is, it would be good. Otherwise, I've seen you are mastering the point. Hope I'm now clear. Emma, we are waiting for your answer. Emma, we are waiting for your answer. You would also bring another point. You would say, getting a nice job is a source of happiness today. Being successful is a source of happiness today. For example, Kylian Mbappe, a French footballer, was happy when he won the FIFA World Competition. Great. I've liked your example. The example is known. Everybody knows Kylian Mbappe. And by saying a French footballer, you have made it crystal clear. Good. Now you are mastering the content and the concept I wanted to build in you. You can go ahead and give more exciting examples or points before we move to African Traditional Society. Emma, you seem to be having nice examples. Give us one extra point. And I want you to say, when you are giving your answers, such that is a source of happiness in the present situation. Good. I was giving the point of having a nice job is a source of happiness today. Having a nice job is a source of happiness in the present situation. Then you say, for example, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is a happy man because he is having a very nice job of being a president. A very nice job of being president. So you also get yourself some good scores there. Moses has said getting good position in work is a source of happiness in the present situation. For example, Donald Trump was happy when he was elected president of America. Wonderful. Moses is having 4 out of 10. Good. Jack, you can also type in your answers. As I'm waiting for Emma's nice examples. Emma is saying being famous is a source of happiness today. For example, Will Smith, a famous actor, is happy due to his popularity. Wonderful. Would say Emma has 4. Jackie, you can go ahead and give us more points. Because it is you who is trailing behind, others are having 4, for you are having 2. And we are having 3 more minutes such that we cross over to African Traditional Society. We are now crossing to African Traditional Society. I want us to create some few points in relation to the question. Explain the sources of happiness in African Traditional Society. The reason as to have given that question, I want to see how you give examples in African Traditional Society. Somebody saying receiving praise for work done is a source of happiness. For example, John Nash was happy when he won the Nobel Prize. Wonderful. Montes is having 6 out of 10. But we move to 8 years. I will carry over your marks even to the last part. Somebody saying being victorious in wars and being a good warrior. For example, Nelson Mandela, who fought apartheid policy in South Africa. You have a very good point, Jackie, but you have not completed it. Otherwise, let me give you 4 out of 10 for Jackie. You would say no, let me first wait for your answers. I want answers in 8 years. Bring in your ideas for African Traditional Society. So that you can see how best we can beat your answers. I would have given you mine, but I can't give you mine before you bring in yours, because I want to build on what you already have. That is when you will best grasp this concept. Initiation ceremonies such as tattooing brought happiness to people as this uplifted their status in society. Emma, your point would have been okay, but you have not given an example. So Emma, I will give you nothing in that point. Emma, you would have said initiation ceremony. Initiation ceremony were sources of happiness in ATS. Now I've said ATS because of time, but for in the exam, you would say African Traditional Society. Then you would say EG. Me, I've said EG because of time, but for you would complete it. Then you say EG among the Vagishu whenever one was fully circumcised, when everyone was fully circumcised, he would be happy. He would be happy. Somebody has typed in, I think this is Emma still. Good harvest brought happiness to the people. For example, among the Baganda would celebrate after good harvest. Emma is now having 6 out of 10 for Emma. When you look at Emma's last point, it was asked, whenever you're giving an example in African Traditional Society, you cite the society where you are drawing the example from. You don't just give the example, but you tell us where you are getting the example from. Like he has said, among the Baganda. If you don't quote that, then the example becomes irrelevant. But you must go ahead and show us where you are drawing the example from. That's why I said, for example, among the Baganda. You'll excuse me in case I go off, it will be battery issue. My piece is running down of battery, but we can go ahead. Notice you also type in your answer. Fulfilling cultural norms is also a source of happiness in African society. Jack is 6. Again for J. Emma, I'm waiting for your response. And Jackie, then Motes. Motes is saying poor network, but you can still type in your answer. I was trying to say, we are looking at how we handle questions of ATS. I've said in ATS, an example must show the society where you are drawing the example from. Then the example itself. If you give an example in ATS without necessarily showing us the society, that point is wrong. Somebody is saying community service. Traditional Africans took pride in developing their community through self-service. For example, creating path among the Baganda. Peter, Emma is having 8. Emma is having 8 out of 10. But Emma, when you are giving examples, you begin with the society. You say, for example, among the Baganda. Then you build the example. We'll go ahead. Emma is in the lead with 8 out of 10. Notice you are having 6. Jack, you are having 6. Am I saying loyalty to leaders, for example, among the Baganda? Emma, your point would be okay, but you nipped it in the bud. You killed it when you had just begun it. You're supposed to say loyalty to leadership was a source of happiness in African traditional society. Then you bring in the example. But you hurried to say, for example, even before you had completed the point. You first complete the point, then you bring in the example. So Emma, you still have 8 out of 10. Winning was good, good, good. Motes is having 8 out of 10 by saying winning was a source of happiness in African society. Saying, for example, when the early colonial Catholics won a battle against the Protestants, was happiness good? You would have said, for example, whenever the Nandi won there was against the Maasai, they would jubilate in happiness. Am I saying fertility of land brought happiness to people in African society? For example, among the Baganda, since traditional Africans were mostly cultivators, good. Emma is now having 10 out of 10. Jackie is saying having a good reputation in being popular was a source of happiness in ATS. For example, Milton Obote. Jackie, I would say Jackie Obote was not in ATS. And we say you give. We say you give the society where you are drawing the example from. If you had quoted an example of traditional leaders in ATS, like the king of Uganda, the biggest things, even if you don't mention the name, but just saying kings of Uganda were always happy because of being popular. It would be okay. You'd even quote examples of kings like Mutesa of Uganda. You would quote examples of kings like Mwanga of Uganda, but not of is too present. So Mutesa, you still have, no, Jackie, you still have 6 out of 10. Mutesa is saying, when a king has support in his kingdom, he is happy in ATS. For example, when Mwanga was happy, Mutesa, your answer would be okay, or you have corrected by saying was good. So always be cautious of the tense. Jackie, defend yourself. We have 9 minutes to go. Your friends are having 10 out of 10. And we are using the Mutesi's last example. We maintained in the past tense. That's why Mutesi was very fast to correct saying he was. Otherwise, I was going to give high 0 in that point. I said for ATS, we write our answers in the past. For ATS, we write our answers in the past. We are left with 5 minutes to the end of the lesson. I'm waiting for you, Jackie, to give us some more 2 points. Otherwise, the scoreboard indicates Emma with 10 out of 10, Motes with 10 out of 10, then Jackie with 6 out of 10. That is our scoreboard, and we have 3 minutes. Jackie, you still have a chance of changing your scoreboard by giving in more ideas. Jackie is saying being a good medicine man in ATS, for example, the African traditional men who knew local herbs